Good morning, everyone. A little bit of an odd open, I think. Kind of tentative. Yesterday was, that's for sure. Was attempts to roll over, and markets came back. And by the end of the day, especially in the Russell, longs started to run for the exits. We'll take a look at that. And, and looks like pre-market there, we had a little blip up in the futures and back down. So we got the beginnings of a topping tail. It's early. This would be an ideal, not quite ideal, I think, but a good closing kind of a bar if it was to happen. And if we were to see a topping tail that just peekabooed above these highs and came back in, and certainly even if it's a bit lower from here, I would feel aggressive about pressing the short buttons. I mean, yesterday was a start. Good morning. So I'm a little tentative myself. I was kind of, thinking yesterday, gee, they're really coming back, for more after it's starting to roll over at resistance and the inability to get through these highs initially. And, and then at the end of the day, when they couldn't push through on the hourly time frame, probably better seen over here. Like, let's just back this up a little bit and forget this bar right here. But, it was more like that. So it was the gap down and the churning around and the hourly sell setup. And the sell setup didn't follow through to break down through this low. And then went back up into the gap there. And then at the end of the day, well, after I guess about an hour or two, buyers were like, no, we're not going to get through the high. And they sold. And, so this morning, the blip up and back down again. So we'll see. It's taking a little time. And so the longs are getting nervous here. And they should. After this run up into resistance, makes sense, of course. And so now we shall see, that it blipped up. And, well, we're not going to see the blip up on this day chart, right? Wherever it starts here, 257. It's going to start, I guess, 257, wherever. Actually going to start as if it's up a little on the day, right? If it's there in the next 20 minutes or so. So I looking at this and I want to think, okay, just give me the bearish bar, looking for the shorts, pull back here. But the longer this goes sideways here, and if they're green bars, it's going to, you have to look at that and, just look bar by bar and say, these buyers, they're just not going away. And the sellers or the supply just can't drive it down. And it could be a fake out to the upside. If it happens, it could be a breakout failure, because buying breakouts after a move like this historically doesn't work out very well. But a green bar above here, and then you get an inside bar, that would be a breakout bar failure. We don't know what, going to happen on the next bar. If we did, wouldn't that be wonderful? But of course we don't. So we just think about the possible patterns that could occur in a situation like this. And a breakout bar failure is certainly one of them. I'd prefer just to get it to roll over and, well, whatever comes, we'll deal with it. Qs, similar, they're just hanging up here. But you see the gap down from yesterday, and it just held. It tried to roll over. Right? The white part is the day trade during the 9:30 to 4, and this is after hours. So the hourly topping pattern is still intact. We've got this topping tail now, so sellers did step up on that push up, and now let's see. Oh, let's call it a neckline. Right? It may not be the ideal head and shoulders. It doesn't matter. It's a sideways consolidation. There's been attempts to go higher, and it hasn't. We've got this sideways move. So We'll see if it can break through this level here. And if it does, it's got the door open. We've got a little support there, but the door is then open to make a decent move to the downside. The Russell was a bit weaker. It looked more impressive intraday as far as the sell-off at the end of the day. It's still just going sideways here. But at the end of the day, this was on the 5-minute, smaller time frames always look like something's a big deal, and that's where any buying or selling starts and looks like something significant is on the smaller time frames, and then it evolves into the higher time frame. So, this at the end of the day, buyers threw in the towel and the Russell came in pretty hard, and now it's just hanging out here near the bottom of that range. So still bearish. Good morning. But ultimately, we need to see it break down through this level here. So let's just call it, if it gets under 142, this bottoming tail, I think, would go. And that's a side note other than just reviewing these markets here today. Those of you, when you're placing your stops where you say, okay, I'm going to put it under this low, like that. And a lot of times you see that your stop gets taken out and then it bounces back up. Ultimately, it probably rolls back over with a pattern like this. But what I found is if you even place your stop a little bit above that, sometimes you save yourself a little bit of money, because once it gets close enough to it, majority of times it's going through it anyway. And that's where you'll experience a bit more slippage, because that's where the majority of stops are. So when it goes through, you get a little spurt below that, and then it tends to pop back up again. I think we saw that. We talked about that in the room here yesterday about, I think it was Apple. Once it triggered through the low of the day, it sprung back up again. And that's one of the reasons why it happens. There are stops there, so you get a little flurry as those cells come in, and there's with the slippages, and then pop back up, and it's exactly what Apple did. So we'll see if this breaks through this 142 area. I mean, you got the pattern here: resistance, declining 50 MA. It's in a downtrend, decent retracement considering the drop, but now we want to see it roll over. Transport's actually holding up pretty well, right? So one of the things we talked about was, over the last year, when the transports have had corrections, they tend to play some catch up at the end. And while this isn't going up, it did better than most did yesterday. And we've got a bottoming tail bar. So, I guess the airlines did okay yesterday. And if they can get through here, that's a little bit of a fly in the ointment for the bear case as far as, the market's going lower. Because if the transports are having a decent day above this level, I think there'd be have some hesitancy about aggressively selling this market, but we'll see how it unfolds. And diamonds, the same story. Well, they're a little bit stronger. So the question, can it break through this low right there? And then, this little would be a squared top, a rounding top, would start to move down. So we shall see. We looked at the S&Ps, explain that. NASDAQ futures above their open for now. And we got to get through that level there for the bear case. And up through the highs, I'd be afraid of breakout failures. And I'm not defining this as a clean type of breakout, but I've just seen it happen so many times with this kind of a pattern where after a move, you get a consolidation and you get a pop up like that. And ultimately, that's the last gasp in the move, and down it comes. But we'll see. Dow is actually down here, I guess, on JPM. Yeah, and the financials early in the day yesterday, they were the stars. And as the markets gapped lower, JPM was going up, Citibank was going up, Bank of America was going up. I think even Goldman Sachs was going up. And yeah. And so now kind of interesting to see what are they going to do. JPM coming in and let's see here. Where's XLF? Yep. So let's see where that ends up. So this wider range bar breaking above, this is exactly what I'm talking about, is if you get this sideways consolidation within a downtrend after a move, and then you end up with an inside bar, and then it breaks that inside bar's low, that's your breakout bar failure. So, oh, thank you. Earnings tomorrow for Goldman Sachs. And that'll be interesting with Goldman has been a real dog lately with the news around that and their troubles. So we shall see. Yeah, I already got it up there. We shall see. All right. Bonds, they're up here a bit, kind of trying to hold the support level for now. We'll see what happens. We'll set some alerts. Oil actually holding up decently here in that resistance area. So we'll keep an eye on that. And we have gold actually holding up pretty well as well. Up at this resistance area. There's resistance over there to the left. So we'll see what happens there. Dan's going to review open plays, but this kind of caught my eye today in the list. Maybe this thing, maybe it's getting ready to make a move because you got this down and deep retracement and it's been consolidating at resistance. Maybe this snap is going to make a move, and I like it that it's going to move over a red bar if it can clear that area. That's going to be one I'll keep an eye on. And, so even though prices are up into areas of resistance, the longs may be a little nervous, but they're certainly not running for the exits here yet. We'll see what happens by the end of the day. All yours, Dan.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, and I don't get all the gaps, so yeah, feel free to always point the stuff out. Open positions. This Apple, we have a bear put debit spread. TWM, we gave this just in this room. That's the inverse short IWM. Tilray was up this morning, and apparently the lockup period expired. Some head guy was on CNBC today saying, "Oh no, we're in this for the long haul, this or that." We got filled on our 55s yesterday. We still have a half lot of the 60s that I've been trying to get out of all week, trying to do a higher strike price. And I'll be doing the same today. What else? Greg gave HYG as a short in here yesterday. We have Tadidum still 25% lot. That's doing fine. We stopped out of our Whiskey Bravo yesterday at a profit. Actually, I'm going to leave this thing on as a short watch because look at this weekly. That's a bearish kind of descending triangle. That looks ugly. Whiskey Bravo. All right, so we have very, very few opens. We were stalking call spreads on Qs. I posted it under the low, yesterday's low, and it's still valid. IWM also. Let's look at some gappers now. Goldman. Yeah, those stocks are going to. EQT. Somebody sent me this, a newsletter is selling a bear call spread on this. I mean, I don't get it. Multi-week trading range support, rising 2050. I'll look at it to sell a put spread. UNH had earnings, was down. Now you see it going back up. WFC gapping down a little bit, but that was a bullish close. That's definitely a put selling candidate. And remember, Citi yesterday reversed. It was weak in the morning. Here's pre-market. That was a bullish close. Delta, it was bearish this morning and it's snapping back. So that's a put spread candidate. Let me put that in a window. Sherwin-Williams here had a bearish gap way down here, up a little bit now, 377. That's a bear call spread candidate. JPM is a bear call spread candidate. It was gapping under the low, and now it's stabilizing, but I have it here in this middle window. We'll keep an eye on him. Daku, we have as a put call candidate watch, has a bullish gap here today. I'll keep an eye on that. Plab, been watching. I need a pullback, but that's bullish daily, weekly, monthly. Some of these home builders, we need the pullback. LOW had a bearish gap down today. I just canceled that. We were watching that for a swing. Azul, we need a pullback. EWW and our ETF trader, we sold half. Alarm, I think one of you all gave that to me. We're going to watch that on a pullback. Kilo Lima, little gold stock. I said let's keep an eye on this. Very, very bullish. CAG is a short watch because it can't get off the ground. I'm going to put that in a window. That's a what do we call it, Pat? That dog don't hunt. Mighty Mo, we have as a short watch under yesterday's low. AVA, that's just getting on board of ugly moving train going downtown, not uptown. Core, we'll keep an eye on. That came from Alex, I think. LQDT, you need a pullback. That came from Paul, but I like the weekly and monthly. And so it's going to take a while to set up. Remember, I posted this little guy in the private Facebook group, and we reviewed it pre-market. So look at pre-market yesterday was strong, and then it just ripped. I think I showed you on the monthly, this was, its high in 2000 was 189,000. SERV, this is a put spread candidate, but it's still lagging. It's stabilized, but it's lagging. EFX, put spread candidate. J&J, it's lagging, you're gone. KHC, this was one of my favorites yesterday. Now look, it's gapping up from this bullish 15-minute base. So that for a day trade long, that looks fantastic. I'm actually going to get rid of Sherman here. The Sherman tank is not a tank today. Lennar, as I said, some of those we need pullbacks from home builders. I don't care how many weeks it takes to set up. We're gonna keep an eye on AMD for a longer term trade. Fizzler is a put spread candidate based on the weekly, but we need a pullback. Look at this Charlie India since spinning off or whatever the heck it's done. X-ray put spread candidate. There's our CAG, Cron, Facebook, USO. UNG, I mentioned, was a put spread candidate, right, on Friday. CGC, more strength, wow. Nice. Until right down, Tesla doing nothing. Still fine for a call spread candidate. Hey, Pat, do you want to go double or nothing on our bet about those puts we talked about yesterday? ACB, nice. That's a bullish 15-minute chart. That's the one I chickened out on not making an official trade as a core. Google's garbage. All right, yeah, let's look at what you all got. I'm done with all my stuff. Not triple, double A. Double A Duracell. You could do a day trade or put spread over all of this, whatever the high is, but it looks, there's not big volume here. It might be a gap. If this is real, it's a bearish gap and crap pre-market. Look at this Netflix I mentioned when Greg was talking. On my thumbnail, I just saw it ripping. Now this is kind of weird, right?